From the high desert and the great American Southwest, I bid you all good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world's time zones. I'm Art Bell, and this is the program that covers every last one of those time zones. 'Tis my honor and privilege to be with you throughout the weekend, to guide you, as it were, through the weekend, and a lot of paranormal activity. I suppose... Well, no, we'll hold that off for a moment. Looking at the world is always depressing. The webcam shot tonight is, well, kind of interesting. There came an opportunity to show Aaron Los Angeles, and that opportunity came in the form of an invitation to participate in a major motion picture. And so... the picture you see is on the sound stage of a movie called I Know Who Killed Me with Lindsay Lohan. So Lindsay is a very, very interesting gal indeed. Anyway, it's coming out in July, and it's just a bit part. You know, I get to do sort of a little thing that puts together. And I can't give away the plot, so I can't really talk about it, but that's where the photograph came from. And that's a picture of Erin on a sound stage in Hollywood, a place she's never been. And so it was kind of exciting. And it was about 10 hours of driving. Now, in a moment, I'm going to have some news from last week's intent experiment. But first, we'll look at the never-to-be-disappointed in how depressing it is world news. Baghdad, Iraq. A suicide truck bomber sent a deadly storm of metal, stone, and jagged plaster through worshippers, leaving a Sunni mosque Saturday, killing at least 39, possible sign of escalating internal Sunni battles between insurgents and those who oppose them. Motive for the attacks was not immediately clear, probably never will be. Vice President's plane got in a little trouble. Vice President Dick Cheney's plane experienced minor mechanical problems, but was while making a refueling stop in Singapore, as planned on Sunday. According to the White House, Australian Prime Minister said he had received a report Cheney's plane was being diverted after it took off from Sydney, but did not have any further details. Interesting. Meeting on the grounds of the former Confederate capital, the Virginia General Assembly voted unanimously Saturday to express profound regret for the state's role in slavery. Bad news in the Middle West. A fast-moving snowstorm has closed sections of major highways on the plains Saturday. It dumped more than a foot of snow. That's a lot of snow on the upper Midwest, caused 7 traffic deaths in Wisconsin. Storm knocked out power to more than 145,000 customers, primarily in Iowa, where freezing rain coated trees, power, and utility lines, and of course they come down like dominoes. Not good at all. A little bit of ice weighs a whole lot. Indonesian engineers temporarily halted an attempt to plug a fissure that has been gushing mud for 9 months after a steel cable hoisting cement balls, that's right, cement balls, into the crater, broke on Saturday. The hot, noxious mud has displaced 13,000 people, covered dozens of factories, thousands of homes. The mud has blocked major roads into the country's second largest city. My goodness. So they're dumping large concrete balls into it. This is from a listener. I thought it was appropriate. He quotes Einstein here on radio. Einstein said, you see, wire telegraph is it's like a very, very long cat. You pull his tail in New York, and his head is meowing in Los Angeles. Do you understand this? And radio operates exactly the same way. You send the signals here, and they receive them there. The only difference is there is no cat. That's Einstein. Let me give that to you one more time. I like it. You see, wire telegraph is a kind of a very, very long cat. You pull his tail in New York, and his head is meowing in Los Angeles. Do you understand this? And radio operates exactly the same way. You send signals here, and they receive them there. The only difference is there is no cat. And that is how Einstein explained radio. All right, we're going to break here, and then we're going to review last week's intent experiment. We'll be right back. All right, we're going to review in a moment the results of last week's intent experiment to get them to show themselves. But let me tell you now, we're about to go into open lines. Now, that means anything you want to talk about is fair game. But those who are more interesting get more airtime. Those who are not interesting and or obviously impaired in some manner, they're gone very quickly. And while they are unscreened open lines, let me emphasize I do have the button, meaning I can make the last X number of seconds disappear if need be. So to get to us, if you've got something of intense interest, west of the Rockies, 800-618-8255. East of the Rockies, 800-825-5033. First-time callers, virgins, area code 818-501-4721. Wildcard line, area code 818-501-4109. No, I screwed that up. First-time callers, 818-501-4721, 4721. Wildcard line, 818-501-4109. And outside the country, 800-893-0903. Get hold of your operator. Now, let it ring till I answer. And when I do answer, the first responsibility is yours, and that means turn the radio down. From my co-experimenter, the following, dear Art. The Saturday experiment was an undeniable success. There were sightings around the world. Many of them came in from people listening on the Internet. I was receiving emails from as far away as the Yucatan. Canada, also very active. Gulf Breeze, Florida, was a hot spot, had several sightings. Colorado, Ohio, Sacramento, Berkeley, California, Wisconsin, Illinois, Houston, Austin, Texas, Hawaii, New York, Iowa, as well as many witnesses that failed to say where they were, yet gave incredible reports. Everything from brilliant lights responding to people with flashlights and lasers responding to wishes and so forth, intent. This one, I had thousands. I could just go on and on. Hi, Art. My name is Vicky, and I live in Port Huron, the base of the Thumb area in southeast Michigan. Wanted to relate to you my experience with last night's experiment. I was thoroughly enjoying the show. I got excited when you decided to go ahead with it, so I followed the instructions. Looked out the window, too cold to go out there. Sure enough, I saw a white ball of light in the sky off to the southeast of where I was looking. I also saw to the west of that some twinkling lights in the shape of 3D triangles that were spinning and changing colors, kind of like the old screensavers with the shapes that spin around and change color. It was so cool. It faded after a few minutes, so I went back to the radio. I was afraid my mind was making it all up, so when we did it the second time, I asked that they come closer, so the white light was directly outside my window, and guess what? There it was. It had moved from the far southeast to directly outside my window. Granted, it was obviously huge and far away, but yet they had answered my request. I got chills at that moment. Again, it faded. So it did the third time, and the white ball of light was back, along with a lot of twinkling white lights about it. How effing amazing is that? Thank you so very much for allowing us this opportunity. I believe a shift in human consciousness and awareness is truly happening with intention at the core. The success of what the bleep and now the secret is testament to that. It's exciting. Sincerely, Vicky, and I'll hold the last name. Or this callers from 4 southern Somerset County towns. This was in a newspaper. The Sentinel reported seeing strange lights in the sky Wednesday night, though activities that night by the Vermont Air National Guard might provide an explanation. Some sightings were close to the ground. From 7:35 through 8:12 p.m., the Somerset County Communications Center took calls from Anson, Fairfield, and 2 other cities that I dare not try to pronounce. The Ensign call came from 42 Hilltop Road, not far from town. Caller told the dispatcher she saw reddish-orange UFOs through the trees. Said she saw 3 diagonal lights, then 2, then 1, before it all burned up like a comet. Spokesperson from the Vermont Air National Guard confirmed the unit was conducting training missions through the area Wednesday night. An F-16 flying overhead, the source said, would cause considerable noise. Now, they didn't hear noise. They saw lights, and F-16s move quickly, not slowly. Former Navy intelligence crypto tech Brad Luker is a very down-to-earth kind of guy. At 40, father, husband, works at a power plant as an operator, and walks the straight and narrow. He doesn't believe in Bigfoot, aliens, or the Loch Ness Monster. So, when he saw strange, bright lights in the sky above him Tuesday night, he assumed that it was a helicopter, maybe a small plane. Only when he opened the door to his truck, expecting to hear the whir of chopper blades above him, did he begin to wonder what in the world the craft could be. Quoting, "It was really bizarre. I've never seen anything like it. I do a lot of camping. I've seen all the basic stuff in the sky," he said. "Most strange things in the sky are high up," he said. "This was way, way down there. It was so low to the ground, so brightly lit, that at first he thought, well, there must be something going on at the industry town hall. I thought, wow, that's kind of neat. As he got closer, though, he realized the lights were coming from something around 300 feet above. That was when he pulled over, opened the door, sounded like a quiet jet engine. Luker was mystified and a bit nervous at this point. A woman driving in an SUV behind him saw it as well. He never got her name, wishes now he had. She said that she thought it looked like an aircraft trying to land on the road. I know the Navy has some really funky, special, top-secret aircraft out there. That's the only other thing I could think it could be. Then it stopped right above his head for a few seconds. Just stopped. That's when it really freaked me out, he said. He'd have thought it was a spaceship, he said, except he doesn't believe in spaceships. So that's kind of typical, a little sample, if you will, of the literally now thousands of reports we got. Now, there are 2 ways to approach what happened with the experiment. As you know, it's been years since I did an experiment of any sort. But it seemed tailor-made. My guest kept saying intent, art, intent. It's all about intent. And, of course, the consciousness experiments and studies that we have done are all intent-oriented. No question about that. So it was too good to pass up, even though I probably should have. I guess you could say either it worked or it was one hell of a coincidence, or simply sending people outside is going to get you reports of things in the sky. I don't know really which it was, but I know that you would have to chalk it up. If you saw the reports I saw, you would have to chalk it up as some sort of ding, 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 as all the other experiments have been. Now, you could just say, I understand. There are those who would say, well, come on. You send 1 million people outside to look at the sky, and you're going to get reports. Some of these are pretty good, though. Really, really good. First-time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art. How are you?
I'm quite well.
I just have a question about your reverse speech and why you no longer allow that on the air. What is your thoughts on it?
I don't disallow it. We just haven't had reverse speech on in a very, very long time. I had a disagreement with the fellow who used to do the majority of reverse speech.
I kind of remember that.
And that kind of ended it.
I thought it was valid.
Yeah.
I didn't like what he did. But
and so that kind of ended it. That doesn't end and I said this at the time, and I'll say it now. I still have an intense interest in the possible validity of reverse speech. Who knows?
Well, that's what I was curious about, if you still thought it was somewhat of a valid potential information source. Do you plan to do that again?
If we come upon somebody who's doing research here in the U.S., Yeah, maybe. Why not? Sure. And, I'll investigate anything. The fact that I had a disagreement with him doesn't stop me from being interested in the technology.
Very good. Great
Okay.
show. We appreciate you.
All right. Take care, bud. Once again, doing open unscreened talk radio. Anything you want to talk about, fair game. West of the Rockies, your turn. You're on the air.
Hello, Art. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. You sound like you're on a cell phone at the end of the earth.
Can you hear me, Art?
Sort of.
This is Bob. I'm calling from over here in Texas. Last Saturday, my sister had a UFO sighting on Forum over Charlotte, North Carolina. And,
Yes, sir. I'm going to hold it there because we've got a very bad connection. I appreciate the fact she had a sighting, a UFO sighting, one of thousands. I mean, just thousands. And again, I guess I'm not declaring it a unilateral, absolute, unambiguous success. However, I do have thousands of reports. So from that point of view, yes, but you've got to hold out for the, what would you call it, the placebo effect? I don't know. I just know that every time we have tried an experiment, we've had success. That doesn't mean I'm going to run to do 1 million of them. It just means the batting average is damn good. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Art Bell.
Yes.
I never
Extinguish
thought
thy
I'd hear your
radio,
voice on the other end of
please.
this phone. It's taken me forever to get through.
Okay. Well, through you are.
Well, I just wanted to say that my favorite shows that you do, and you seem at your very most giddiest, is when you do the EVP shows. So I'd like to hear another one of those soon, or maybe like a best of EVP show.
Okay. Yeah, they're pretty scary things.
That would be awesome. Now I have one more question. I was wondering if you ever intend to interview Alex Jones.
Probably not.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I figured you guys had your disagreements. All right, thanks, Art.
I've never interviewed Alex, so we don't have disagreements per se because we have never spoken. However, I know without question what his position is. What I am going to do is I'm going to hold a discussion with all of you on 9/11. That I'm going to do. I'm not going to bring any of the so-called experts on either side of the question. I'm going to, I guess, kind of do a giant poll and discussion with the audience. And we're going to find out how many people. Now, I know that given that opportunity, all of the 9/11 conspiracy groups will gather their forces together and try and flood the lines. But there are millions of people out there. So what we'll have is an open discussion one of these days. I promised it a couple of weeks ago on 9/11. I'm not afraid of it. I just don't happen to believe it. But I think there are a sufficient number of people out there that do believe in it now to warrant a discussion about it. In terms of having an advocate for either side on the air, I don't think I'm going to do that. Hi there on a wildcard line. You are on the air.
Hello, Art. This
Hello.
is Walter. This is Walter from up in Eatonville, Washington.
Yes.
And I've talked to you before about. I asked you about if you would be willing to do the mass consciousness on if God would show up or not. Now, the reason I did it was because I have a similar situation here as James Gilliam about I can ships to appear here, but the way I do it is to eliminate the demons and everything else. It's something I always focus on, something to do with God. And so I thought the experiment, basically what you did was you were asking God to show up.
You think that's what I was doing?
Well, you said you didn't want the meditation was to focus away from all demons and everything else. Well, if you were to and you were after
Actually, I don't recall saying that. What I recall saying was I asked everybody to focus on a joyous moment in their life. And then on top of that, to try and focus on or to project intent to have them, whoever they are, show up. That's how I recall it. Hello?
Gilliam was also trying to delete the the fear of demons is what he was.
Absolutely correct. Yeah, he was. He is aware, as I am aware, that people faced with something new, particularly of that magnitude, seeing something that doesn't belong in our airspace above your head is a scary thing. And if you are of a particular religious persuasion, it could well be that you're going to think you're facing a demon. So sure, it's possible. And that's why I think we had people sort of focus on a joyous moment. We wanted it to be a happy affair, and the showing not to be, like the end of a bad movie. I'm Art Bell. Somebody named Kelly from Idaho sent me an email, said, Art, my grandma asked me to email this to you, thought it was really important, thought you ought to know about it. It comes from the, let me see, what is it? Idaho Gazette, I think. Let me make sure. No, Idaho Observer, proper credit. Headline, GAO report admits chaff in chemtrails. Now listen very carefully. The Idaho Observer reports that in May this year, a family in Iowa contacted the office of Senator Tom Harkin to report the constant crisscrossing of chemtrails in the sky above their neighborhood. They received back from the senator's office a GAO report on military chaff and the material safety data sheet for aluminum-coated fiberglass fibers being spread 7 days a week for several hours each day in the skies above their home. The chaff is spread by pilots learning how to mask planes or send false radar images. We all know that. It was reported that the military also has lead-based chaff, but not being used right now. Chaff was used by the military in Europe in World War II, and according to the GAO, had been used in training here at home since the 1950s. Once chaff reaches the ground, it breaks into little particles small enough to inhale. Though military spokespeople insist the chaff isn't harmful, listen very carefully to this part, the GAO report concluded that health officials have no idea what the effects are, and more studies are needed. Among the substances found to be in the samples were several that simply ought not be there. 6 bacteria, including anthrax and pneumonia. 9 chemicals, including acetylene and chloride. 26 heavy metals, including arsenic, gold, lead, mercury, silver, uranium, and RMC, whatever that is, 7 viruses, 2 cancers, 2 vaccines, and 2 sedatives. Over the last several months, the Observer has received a significant increase in chemtrail-related calls and letters. Most report a dramatic increase in chemtrail spraying activity in their areas. Some are reporting the development of chronic flu-like symptoms, chronic fatigue, and body aches that have never before been explained. We'll be right back. Coming up in about 30 minutes, Dick Criswell on UFO paranormal activity. So that'll be tonight. And then tomorrow night, Jim Sparks, who clearly was the best UFO abductee that I think has ever been interviewed by anybody on the air, anywhere. And we'll explore that which we didn't have time to do previously. So it's going to be a very, very interesting weekend. Wildcard Line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hey, Art, it's Richard in New York. I can't believe I got through.
And yet, here you are.
And here I am. I've been trying to call you a number of times, especially when you get talking about 9/11. And here's something you might want to put out. At times I think I might have been, might be in an alternate universe or something. Now, I'll tell you why I say that. I lived for 29 years within a quarter of a mile from Ground Zero. And I'll never forget that day or the events that pursued after it, And one of the things that I remember clearly on the media and everything is when building number 7,
Yes.
That building, when it went down, that was deliberately detonated.
Well,
and the reason given by the news...
It is your opinion.
Oh, no. This came over in my world and the people that I know.
Your world?
What?
Your world?
Yeah, where I live in the city.
Okay. But I mean, what proof do you have to offer that it was deliberately detonated?
Oh, not as a terrorist act or anything. The structure, the integrity of the structure was in doubt because of the collapse of the 2 trade towers.
Okay.
And I don't remember whether it was the fire department or the National Guard, but one of them deliberately brought the building down because it was a risky structure after.
That may be, but I'm not aware of it. Everybody has questioned what happened to Building 7, and people are saying...
They always say that, and I said, why are they saying that?
Well, why are they saying that if, in fact, some agency actually did bring it down for the reasons you stated, which would be logical, but I know of no such statement.
I wonder if anybody else ever heard this, because it was publicly broadcast on the media.
Well,
I remember it. I mean, those days. You got to understand.
Yeah, but if it had been, that would answer the question of so many conspiracy theorists and quiet them down on that subject that I think it would be big news.
But that's really how the rest of the world sees it. You know, sometimes, like you say from time to time, you hear about somebody dying and you say, no, that person isn't dead. Or you in your own mind, you think someone's dead, and then someone says, no, he didn't die.
All right. Well, you were okay. So you're saying that you were, in effect, in an alternate universe, one in which it was announced publicly that that building was brought down for safety reasons, which, by the way, would be fairly logical. But I'm not aware of any such statement that was made by any agency, and I'll have to leave it at that. If anybody's aware of anything to the contrary, by all means, let me know. West of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Hi.
Hello.
Let me turn my radio down real quick.
Yes, oh yes. Do that right away.
Pleasure. My name is Darren.
Yes, Darren.
I'm from Laytonville, California.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow's my birthday. I'll be 48. And I've had MS now for 15 years. And I would like to share some things with your audience, if I may.
Listening.
Okay. When I was like 3 years old, I had 3 questions. Who am I? Where did I come from? And what is my purpose?
And I bet at 48 years of age, you probably still have them.
No, actually, I found the answer because I spent my whole life studying to answer those questions.
And the answers are?
The answers are, there's nothing that happens at random. Things happen because certain formulas cause that action. And if you ask what out of all the world religions, what does it take to go to God, Allah, Buddha, or heaven, or that higher level of consciousness? It's the same formula, 3 things. Knowledge, wisdom, and faith. Knowledge is truth. Wisdom is to know that truth from deception. And faith is the most powerful force known to life on all levels of its existence.
Well, I'm envious of you that you have that faith. I wish I had that kind of concrete faith. Faith is an absolute belief in something that you cannot prove. And I can't say that I have that. I lean very heavily toward believing that there is a creator, a God. I believe there is a God. Or there is a universal intelligence or something. I really do lean that way. But in terms of being able to say I have absolute faith, no. And so I envy you that it's very comforting, I'm sure. East of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Yeah, my name's Dwayne from Texas.
Hello, Dwayne.
Yeah, I was going to agree with that caller you had before this last one. I did hear something on the news. I think I was watching Diane Sawyer the day that happened. And
so you also think you heard something about 7 being brought down for structural weakness purposes, whatever?
Correct.
Huh.
And it was, well, it didn't, I did hear it. That's what I'm saying.
All right, I appreciate the report. And anybody else who heard that, and actually he said Diane Sawyer, if anybody else is able to scratch up a copy of the report or anything else, obviously that would be of intense interest to many of us. And I can imagine that would be the case, can't you? That they felt 7 was perhaps structurally weakened, dramatically so, by what happened with the World Trade Centers, and so they brought it down. But again, I'm really unaware of such a statement by anybody. Wildcard Line, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi, Art. I want to tell a story about some alien tourists at my
All right,
house.
turn your radio off, please. That is number 1.
Okay, it's off.
Okay.
Okay, in 98, I was working in my shop on some airplane parts I was building, and I had this terrible, terrible feeling of being watched. And I happened to notice that my cats were staring at something I couldn't see by the door. So I took a chance and I said, I know you guys are here. Talk to me. So in the back of my mind, I hear this voice, that says, "Why do you make these things?" I says, "It pleases me and it makes me happy." And while they were mulling on that, I says, "Tell me how your invisible machines work." And they said, "There are many ways." I said, "Show me." So I flew out of my body towards one of these gray aliens that were in my garage. And I got smaller and smaller, atomically small. And I passed through the atoms of his biosuit. And I arrived in the area where I saw millions and millions of orbiting atoms around millions and millions of electrons orbiting around copper atoms. And full size, this would have been a plate of metal underneath the suit. And, excuse me, my cat is sitting on my script.
Why do you have a script?
Well, it's going to take 5 minutes, and I want to have the thing.
No, I don't have 5 minutes.
Well,
so
at any rate,
put your script away and just kind of tell me what.
I'll shorten it as much as I can.
Yeah, don't read from the script.
Anyway, they had an entity in this copper plate where all these orbitings were at, and the thing came up to me, and I said, "What do you do?" And it says, "I look." And I said, "Show me." And I saw myself standing there with a yellow light sticking in my eye, paralyzed. And another one came up, and I says, "What do you do?" And it says, "I do things where the other one looks." And I said, "Show me." And it went to the panic center of my brain, and it says, "If I put energy here, you don't remember that we were here. You are paralyzed. And if I go farther on into your brain, I can explore all your memories." Mm-hmm. And I thought, espionage. And I says, "Oh." And then another really big one came along, and I said, "What do you do?" And it says, "I program these other entities." And I thought, "Oh, wow." I said, you program living beings into copper atoms." I said, and it said, "Yes." And then I thought about this missile site thing in the Midwest where they shut down the missile sites.
ICBMs, yes.
And I realized that they could program into the copper wires electronic beings that were programmed to sit there and quietly wait, allow us to use these things for tests and for maintenance, but never to use them in anger. And they did the same thing to the Russians.
As a matter of fact, they did. Now, all of this is very, very well documented, and you can believe it or not, but in fact, they did two things. To the United States, they hovered craft over some of our ICBM sites and shut them down. They literally shut down. I interviewed several of the fellows who worked in the silos when this occurred, and these craft shut our ICBMs down. Pure and simple, shut them down. Took quite a while to get them going again. In Russia, there was a similar occurrence, only a little scarier. Instead of shutting them down, they set a launch sequence, began to arm and set a launch sequence, simultaneous with the sighting of a saucer craft above Russian ICBM sites. They actually began a countdown. The Russians ended up tearing all of the consoles out, all of the equipment, going through it piece by piece, never figured out what happened, why it happened, or any of the rest of it. But both nations experienced something very serious of that sort. So you can make of that what you will. You can look it up and verify it on your own. Wildcard Line, you're on the air.
Yes, sir. How are you tonight, Mr. Arvell?
Quite well, thank you.
It is a pleasure, and I've been waiting to make this call for years, and I just now got you. A few years ago in 2001, in the summer there, just about the time you hurt your back, you had a fellow on from Texas who claimed to be like he used to be in Vietnam and was like special forces, and he claimed to have been on a hunting trip and killed a Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah.
And he was really freaked out. I remember that night. I listened to the whole program, and I was on the edge of my truck driver's seat going down the road listening to the story, and I wondered, did you ever have any follow-up with this fellow, or did he just kind of disappear?
No, there was a follow-up. Now, that man claimed to have shot and, in fact, buried 2 Bigfoot. He had a map. He knew where they were buried. I did a follow-up program with him. His wife was extremely concerned. He was extremely concerned. We offered to get him counsel, to get him a lawyer, but his wife talked him out of it on the basis that he could have been charged with a crime. And I guess you have to understand that when it gets down to brass tacks, put yourself in that position. Let's say you were out hunting, and you ended up killing a couple of things that were sort of semi-human. Hairy, Bigfoot, clearly not really human, but semi-human. Human in form. Perhaps hair-covered, but human in form. You would be extremely concerned, and if you weren't, your wife or your husband or your relative, close relative, certainly would be, that you could potentially be charged with some sort of crime. And that's exactly what occurred, and she talked him out of doing any of the rest of it. Now, I've got an open invitation to him. Anytime he'd like to change his mind, perhaps as he gets older, he will. We would be glad to conduct an expedition to that site, do the digging, because I believed him, and I think many of the rest of you did as well, and see if the remains could be salvaged. First-time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Yes, I was interested in the experiment Art Bell was talking about. The where they watch the skies and.
Okay, this is Art Bell, and you're talking about the experiment we did last week, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what about it?
Yeah, I live in San Diego, and I noticed that in the sky there was these lights. Couldn't tell
what they were.
Yes.
Okay, well, I appreciate the report. There's one of many. One of thousands. We had literally thousands of reports. And again, I'm open-minded enough to, on the one side, clearly declare it as a success, but on the other side, hold out the possibility that anytime you send millions of people outside, they're going to see things. Now, are they going to see things that aren't there? No. Are they going to see things that are possibly from elsewhere? Well, perhaps. So, in other words, I don't want to make too big a deal out of it, but I think it was a success. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, this is Susan.
Hello, Susan.
Hello.
Where are you?
I'm in Washington State.
Okay.
And I've had several experiences that don't seem to happen to other people. Like people.
You must mean other people who don't listen to this program.
I guess. Yes, sir.
Uh-huh. What kind of experiences? Huh?
Well, I've seen a shadow person, but it wasn't a dark shadow. It was a white shadow.
Okay.
And my eyes were closed, and I could see him walking up to me. And he put a little box on my lap, and it was light. And it was like I could see it and feel it, but my eyes were still closed.
Yes.
And he put earphones over my ears, and this white light went shooting through. And he just took the earphones off my ears and put it back in the case and went walking off, and I opened my eyes.
And what did you make out of all that?
I didn't make anything out of it. I was kind of...
in shock.
Yeah, like shadows are supposed to be dark, and they weren't. And I've had one out-of-the-body experience, and
well, maybe,
I didn't get too far.
Yeah, maybe going back to your shadow person experience for a moment, maybe we could conclude that if you have a shadow person experience and your eyes are open, it appears dark or as a shadow, as described by so many. But if, on the other hand, your eyes are closed, and you're experiencing the presence of an extra-dimensional being nearby, they appear as white or light. In other words, the opposite of what you've got, which, with your eyes closed, obviously, is a sort of darkness, right? So you would not perceive a shadow. So to be perceived, it would have to be light. That's sort of another take on shadow people. From the high desert and the great American Southwest, I'm Art Bell. Here I am. Coming up in a moment, Dick Criswell. Dick Criswell's first encounter with the UFO paranormal world was at the age of 6. At 17, he listened to Frank Edwards, a news reporter for WTTV in Indianapolis, Indiana, who would focus on UFO paranormal topics and investigations, and that sparked his interest, as I hope we do with this program with many of you, creating what I hope is the next generation of ufologists. With the developing fascination of UFO paranormal research in the Indianapolis area, Mr. Criswell hosted UFO and paranormal meetings in his home. During that time, he met Richard Hoagland, who introduced him to Dr. Michael Wolff. In 1994, Mr. Criswell became a team member on a project with Dr. Wolff called the AlphaCom. In 1997, he hosted a national radio show on the cable news network called Starfire Program. Dick Criswell is now a retired fellow and is dedicating countless hours of his time to research and investigating UFOs and the paranormal. He is currently in talks with fellow enthusiasts and is creating a business plan to begin a national UFO paranormal research facility. In a moment, Dick Criswell. All right, I'm sure you've all been reading in the news or seeing on TV the incredible storm that's going through the Midwest right now. Dick Criswell is apparently right in the middle of it, although I guess he's on the far edge of it right now. It's already passed by, and he's got a telephone that's going to go away if he loses power. Dick, welcome to the program.
Well, hello, Art. Nice to talk to you, and thank you for having me as a guest.
It's great to have you. When did all your interest in the world of UFOs and the paranormal begin?
Actually, it started when I was age 6, but at 17, I started investigating and researching the topics of UFOs and paranormal.
How old are you now?
I am almost 60.
Okay, so we're about the same age. You've been doing this all your life, then?
Yes, I have.
It'll be very, very interesting to talk to a researcher, especially for the first time, and sort of see what your conclusions are after all these years.
Well, they have changed over the years. I mean, there's nothing that I have encountered that's concrete. It just seems to change.
Well, in what way?
Well, when I think I've got a handle on the whole gamut of the UFO field, it just seems to change on me. It's like I have always thought that this UFO enigma would be explained by the United States government, and it hasn't been.
No, certainly not satisfactorily. They've taken a couple of shots at, for example, explaining Roswell, but it seemed more like a comedy.
Oh, yeah, that's...
remember that?
Go ahead.
You remember that?
Oh, yes. Very vivid.
Yes, it was high comedy, actually. The little dummies they held up and all the rest of it. All right, well, let's go back a little bit. What's AlphaCom?
AlphaCom was a team that was set up to tell the American people exactly what the government knew, and it basically was to bring forward all the knowledge that they knew about aliens, different craft, and this was all supposed to come forward, and it never did.
Oh, wait just a moment. AlphaCom was an organization formed to get all the knowledge of the American government to the American people. Now, that would imply, was this your organization?
No, it was not my organization. It was Dr. Michael Wolf's organization.
Dr. Wolf's. Did he have contacts in the government that were ready to sing?
Yes, several.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
And what fell apart?
Well, we had Mr. Clinton in office, and what happened was the Monica Lewinsky scandal come up, and they felt that they wouldn't be credible after that.
Yeah, it did kind of take over the headlines for quite a while. There's no question about that. So what happened to the witnesses, the government witnesses that were lined up?
They're still out there. As a matter of fact, there are several witnesses that I'm still in contact with.
Can you name them?
No, I cannot.
Because?
Well, they'd be names that you would know, and I had signed an agreement, a secrecy agreement, that I would not reveal certain things.
But I thought the entire basis of AlphaCom was to reveal that knowledge.
Well, it was. It was supposed to come forward, but under my agreement, I was not allowed to divulge names until this came forward.
Huh. And to this very day, you're bound by that agreement?
Oh, you're never let out of that agreement.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move to something you can talk about then.
Okay.
And that would be, you apparently have had some sort of experience yourself with the Greys. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. When was that, and what was that?
It was in 1953 when I lived in Wheeling, West Virginia.
Okay.
We lived on a farm, and I was playing one day in my yard. We had about 30 acres on this farm, and out of nowhere, I never seen a craft or anything like that, but these two Greys appeared, and the Greys were about 3 foot tall, 3.5 foot tall, and of course, you know, the typical with the cranium heads and so forth. And the interesting thing, Art, when they would talk to me, they wouldn't move their lips. It was just kind of like if you've ever experienced like a Bose wave system. This was in my head. It was kind of telepathic.
Right.
And it was an experience that I'd never had, and I couldn't get over the fact that they couldn't talk like we did. It was just like a thought that came in my head, and it was just tremendous. I mean, it was all right. Around me.
What did they communicate to you?
They told me things, Art, like one day you will be our emissary. They told me certain things like we have a universal God. Different things. They told me that there would be circumstances where I would understand clearly, and different things like I would ask them because I knew that at the age of 6 that they didn't look like we did. I wanted to know where they lived, and they told me that they came from a star system that I wouldn't understand.
Did they have a craft?
I'd never seen a craft, Art, at that time.
Just the Greys. How many?
There was 2. There was 2 Greys.
Was there any physical contact?
No, not that I can recall. They would get within, I'd say maybe 2 foot of me, and I just thought they were, nice playmates because they just kind of were entertaining the way they moved.
So, again, your age at 1953 would have been about what?
6.
6. Oh, that was the very beginning. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that'd get you interested, all right. And were there many of these encounters or just one?
Over the period of, I'd say until I was age 17, it would just come and go. I mean, it was kind of a hit and miss type thing. It wasn't a constant ongoing thing. But the other thing that was really interesting about these grays, we lived in a 2-story farmhouse, and these grays would come through the walls. And what scared me more than anything is they would just appear. They'd come through the wall just like it was nothing. And they told me that if I understood the concept, I could do the same thing. But all I could do was bruise myself.
Yeah. So you tried a couple of walls.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That did not work.
Did you back up and take a good run at them, or just more gingerly approach them?
No, I gingerly approached them, but but it still would put bruises on me.
Yeah. Did they comment on your seeming inability to, go through them?
Yes, they told me. That I didn't understand the concept of going through. I'm trying to think of the word. They didn't use the word mass, but I use it now, But they told me that I didn't understand the concept, and one day I would be able to do that. Now, I still, to this day, can't do that.
Uh-huh. Did you tell anybody else, your parents, others, about these encounters?
Did not tell my parents until I was about 45 years of age, Art, for the simple
Really?
fact. For the simple fact, my parents did not believe this stuff.
Uh-huh. Oh, well, a lot of people don't, Dick.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of people don't. They're very much in doubt. And while we're on the subject, how sure are you that this really occurred in the real world, that you weren't sleeping, that you weren't having some sort of hallucination or any of the above?
Art, I'm 100% sure that this happened to me.
Okay. Was there any overriding important message or thing they told you that we should know?
One of the things that they told me that has bothered me clear to this day was the fact that we would be going through some troubling times, and they said that I would understand it fully when I become at the age of 50. Well, that's come and went, so, I don't know what to make of that, other than the fact that I think that it might have been this earth-coming changes that I know about.
Coming earth changes?
Mm-hmm.
Of what kind?
Well, cataclysmic things, kind of like things that you wrote in your book.
You mean climate change?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Did they, as they have with many people, many abductees, they've actually shown them pictures of what's coming. Did you get any of that?
I never saw any pictures that they had. They just told me these things. I mean, they never. There was no. And I have abductees that tell me the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Dick, what did you do for a living all your life when you were working?
Yes, I was a machine repairman. Just fixed machines and so forth, and I've done that all my life.
What kind of machines?
Production machines.
Okay.
I worked for a bearing manufacturer, and we would work on screw machines and various different production things for ball bearings.
Okay, well, that's a very straightforward kind of job, and so you were a working man all your life, and this seems like, I don't know, seems like an experience that's sort of so far away from what you would expect somebody with your background to have. Any idea why you?
As I look back upon it, Art, I get bits and pieces from my parents now that will discuss certain things that happened to them. They had an experience, but I had to really drag it out of them. And as I've learned in my research, that this kind of runs in families.
And what did your parents say? In other words, were they too visited? Did they have a sighting or an abduction experience, or what?
Well, my mother basically will not talk about her experience, but she said it was a very frightening experience. But my father told me about an experience that he had in Wheeling. It probably was in the mid-30s, and he said that this craft came above him and a couple other people, and it blacked out the sky. And he said that what was interesting about it, it actually blacked it out so much that it took street lights. You couldn't even see the street lights. So this thing must have really been low. And I said to him, I said, well, how big was this thing? And he says, oh, it had to be a couple miles long. And he said that he kind of forgot about it, kind of like they took his memory away. And it was one of those things that he didn't talk about until I really, really pressed him for it.
Mm-hmm. So both your parents had something happen, and obviously you did. And
yes.
From the age of 6 through 17, you had, could you even guess at how many visits?
Art, I've tried to think about that, and I can't really give you a concrete answer on that, but it was several times.
Okay. So only several times. In other words, once a year, perhaps every couple of years, that kind of thing?
It could have been like twice a year, 3 times a year, something like that. And then when I became about in my teens, it was more frequent. It was probably like, maybe 4 or 5 times a year.
Okay. Well, how's your recollection from the teen visits? You would think your recall of those would be much better.
That's really interesting that you asked me that, because it seems like the older I get, the more I remember about this, and it should be just the opposite. It just seems like I'll remember bits and pieces of little things that really, to me, don't mean anything, and I look for those things in abductees that I interview.
Well, Dick, there are many who say that abductees are given a kind of a screen memory. And it may well be that after a period of time that begins to break down and more of what you experience begins to get through. Do you think that's possible?
Yes, I think that's quite possible.
How would you describe their main motive in visiting you?
I don't really know, other than the fact that when they basically told me that I was going to be an emissary, I guess that's what I am now. I'm speaking for them.
Okay. All right. If you're speaking for them, Dick, what is the main message? That Earth changes, catastrophic events are on the way?
Well, that and that they do exist. I mean, I think my life's work basically is explaining to people that they do exist, and this story that some people try to tell that they don't exist is a fairy tale.
Can you describe them in detail physically?
Yes, they were about 3.5 foot tall. They had the wraparound eyes. They had a big head on them. It appeared to me, Art, that if they had wore anything, it was kind of like a tight knit type suit. I did not see any shoes on these people. It was kind of like all one, like the kids that wore the blanket sleepers, that had the feet in them.
Mm-hmm. Were you under the impression, Dick, that they were machines or biological entities?
You know, Art, when I first met them, I thought that they were basically human in nature. But as they would come back, it was more kind of like a robot.
All right, hold it right there, Dick. We'll be right back. From coast to coast and well beyond on occasion, this is Coast to Coast AM. Here I am indeed. We've got a very regular kind of guy on the phone here, Dick Criswell. He's been visited since he was the age of 6 and had a lot of visits between 6 and 17 years of age. And we're sort of rolling over what it seemed to be all about and what they told him and all the usual questions for somebody who's had a visitation or an abduction experience. Back to Dick Criswell in a moment. Once again, Dick Criswell. Dick, your website is canyoustandthetruth.com, right?
That is correct.
I can. What is it?
The truth is that we have been visited for a long, long time. There was a phrase that the X-Files had that said they've been coming here for a long time, and that is the truth.
How long? Do you know? I mean, do you honestly know the history of visitation to Earth?
Well, let's put it this way. They were coming here in biblical times because there's several references in the Bible that Ezekiel talks about the fire ring and so forth. Mm-hmm. And I know that they've been coming that long. I have seen documents saying about how long they thought they were coming here.
Okay. You have a question here that says, who is Philip Corso? Well, Dick, I interviewed Philip Corso many, many times. I know who he is. What do you know about him?
Okay. Dr. Wolf had, in our discussions, he told me that one day, and now this was way before Corso came out, he said, one day you will hear about Philip Corso, and he has a fantastic story to tell, and it is all true.
Well, he certainly did. Very fantastic. And I believed him. He had very little to lose. He knew he was toward the end of his life, Dick, and I believed every word of what he had to say. Do you have anything for us beyond that on Philip?
Other than the fact that Dr. Wolf had told me that everything that he had been told by Corso was true, especially about the Roswell thing. The only thing that he said beyond that is he said most people will not believe the story because they felt like he would not have the clearances to do that. So that's what I know about that story.
Okay. What about the species of aliens that are here on Earth? Do you know obviously of the Greys? Do you know of others?
Oh,
do you know how many are here?
When I was in the AlphaCom team, I seen documents, and I can talk about that. That
you say you cannot talk about it?
No, I say I can talk about that.
Okay.
I saw these documents that showed that they knew of at least 70 different species. That's 70. Mm-hmm. I hear a lot of people talking about that they know 17. I believe that story is way low because I knew of about 70, and we're looking at about 1994. I think I seen these documents. And
okay, what was the provenance of these documents? Where were they from, Dick?
When I went to Dr. Wolf's home, I asked him if I could see some documents that would kind of zero in on what aliens look like, where they come from, so forth. He said, I'll take care of that. So when I went there, I opened up this document after he presented it to me, and it showed sketches and some pictures of live and dead aliens.
Sketches and photographs.
Yes.
And where did these documents come from? Do you know? Because there's a lot of stuff floating around out there, buddy.
I understand that. I believe that these documents come from the government some way, because it had at the top of these documents, it would have like an eyes-only type thing, and it was something that I had looked at when I signed the documents to keep whatever they told me quiet.
You have something here about what do aliens call you?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, there are two things that the aliens call me. When I was a child, they called me the emissary. And here recently, I come across a gentleman that had no way of knowing me, and he was telling me that these aliens call me the portal. And I said, well, how do you know that these were aliens? And he says, well, they told me things that they had no way of knowing. So that's what I know about.
Okay, if you are the emissary, if you are the portal, then you should have a very strong message for us of some sort from them about us or our future or something. You did say the stuff I wrote about in my book.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the book with Whitley Strieber.
Right.
So at least I assume that's the book you're referring to.
Yes. Yes.
Uh-huh. Okay. Can you elaborate beyond what I wrote in the book?
Other than the fact that I believe that the reason the aliens are here now is to work us through some cataclysmic events that are about to happen, and I believe that this is all going to come to a head basically in the year 2012 or that era, and maybe before, because I think that total 2012 is off by 3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm. You claim that you've been given some objects by UFO researchers, right? What sort of objects?
I was given a picture that was of a alien that was a reptoid, and it was one of these pictures, Art, that actually it was a researcher, but this guy was should I say from FEMA, give me this picture, and it was like colored pictures. And I said, well, can I take these to the photomat and have these done? No, you can't do that. You've got to reproduce them some way here. So,
Federal Emergency Management, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Why would he be in possession of photographs of that sort?
He was also a CIA type agent at one time, and then he became a state FEMA director here. Mm-hmm. And he was very interested in the subject, and he knew that I was looking for information.
I see. So he just up and gave these photographs to you, or you said he said you could not copy them, so in some way you ended up with a copy? You still have it, or what?
Well, I still have a copy, yes.
Uh-huh. Do you have that up on the web?
No, but we're going to get that up there.
Uh-huh. There are two areas. There are UFOs, and then there's the world of paranormal. Do you find the two are connected, or are they separate things? In other words, are UFOs actual craft that have made it here, heaven knows how, considering the speed of light limitation that we believe we know about, or are UFOs part of the paranormal world, in your opinion?
I believe they're part of the paranormal world, but I also believe that the UFOs come here by not our scientific explanations. You got to understand, I think that we think in a different level. We're not as advanced as these beings that come in these crafts. I believe they come in like a Stargate type situation, or a like a portal, basically, and they can get in. They can go into these Stargates, and they can come out, and it doesn't take them that long. And I think that's the problem that most people have. They say, well, it takes so long to get from one planet to the other. Well, you got to think that maybe we're not thinking about the right scientific thing. It's kind of like a caveman. If we'd give him a DVD player, he wouldn't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm. So we are to them as the ant would be to us.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Well, with these coming cataclysms that you describe as the main message that they carry, do they plan to intervene, or are they just warning us?
I think there's a warning, and I think that there's also I think that they're there when this happens to help us in some way, and they're not allowed to get involved in it until this happens.
But at the critical moment, whenever that should happen to be, you're convinced they will intervene.
I'm almost positive that something will happen there, derived by them.
Mm-hmm. You've met Richard Hoagland, I guess, right?
Oh yes. Well, I've met him over the phone. I've never met him in person.
I see.
Very interesting guy.
Yes, he is. All right. Well, there's a question here about how many resources you have in your own collection. What do you mean by resources? Photographs, documents, that kind of thing?
Well, books, audios, videos. I have thousands of those in my collection, and
so you've been a collector of UFO materials, video and audio and books and that sort of thing.
Correct.
Okay. I'm trying to get where we're going with this interview, Dick. You've obviously had an experience. Where else are we supposed to go with the interview? What else would you like to talk about?
We can talk about ghost experiences and things like that if you want.
Mm-hmm. You've had ghost experiences at the same time.
Yes, and I find that ghost experiences occur to people that have had UFO experiences, and it just seems like it's more. It happens after a UFO experience or before, and I find that with some of my abductees that they've had some kind of experience with the paranormal.
Mm-hmm. Do you interview a lot of abductees?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a few.
And what causes them to come to you?
They were either referred to me by an individual, or for some reason they just seek me out by word of mouth or whatever in the area.
Mm-hmm. If somebody wants to contact you, Dick, how would they do that?
They can contact me through the website, which is canyoustandthetruth.com. It's Dick at canyoustandthetruth.com. They can also reach me at my cell phone, which is.
I don't think unless you really want to. I don't think I'd give that out on the air, Dick. But that's up to you.
That's quite all right because it's got a voice box and I can always get back to them.
Go right ahead.
Okay. It is 317 area code 796-7530. And they can reach me that way.
Oh, by all means, give that again. 317-796...
7530.
7530, okay.
Or they can call the 1-800 number,
Oh, you have a 1-800 number.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's connected to the website. It's a 1-800-420-6936.
What is that 800 number for, Dick?
That's to leave a message for me to get back to them if they want to report sightings or they're an abductee or they have some kind of paranormal event.
Mm-hmm. That's got to cost money. How are you funding all of this?
Well, we have some investors that are very interested in the subject, and we have some people doing it because they understand that this needs to be done.
So you're turning yourself into a kind of a reporting facility.
That is correct.
And are you then able to follow up with investigation if you've got something hot?
Yes, we can do that. We can actually go to the site. We have enough on the team that can do that.
Okay, when you say team, what do you mean? You've got yourself and who else?
Well, I have assembled various different people that ghost hunters, people that do Bigfoot. I've assembled people that are that do the out of body, psychic events, various different things in the paranormal.
I see. How many are on your team, if I might ask?
At the present, there are 12, but there are others in different states that we can call on to do these things in various different states.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're chasing virtually everything in the paranormal world, from ghosts to, I presume, shadow people, that sort of thing, and then on to UFOs and the occupants of their craft.
That is correct.
Do you have any physical evidence, Dick?
Yes, I do, Art.
I'm listening.
I have I have metal that came from a crashed UFO.
And what have you determined about this metal?
It has been to 7 different independent labs. The only thing that they said that it has earthly product or anything that we would know on Earth would be silicon, and it's very interesting. It's very light. It was found in Muncie, Indiana, after a crash, and it has some healing properties as well.
Okay, other than the silicon, which is earthly, what unearthly things have you found in it?
Unearthly things?
Oh, yes.
Well, that it will do some healing and...
No, I meant material. In other words, it's composed of apparently several different things beyond silicon, right?
Correct.
Like what?
The only... the analysis came back, and the only... Like I said, the only thing that they could find that in the thing was
silicon.
And it looks like...
Oh, wait a minute. You mean it's composed entirely of silicon?
No.
Okay, what I'm trying to get at is, what are the other properties?
It looks like cold fusion. When you look at it under a microscope, it has like little computer chips. It's very interesting.
All right. Well, let's get the information out again on how to contact you, since you volunteered that. Most guests won't do that, but your phone number is area code 317. This is a cell number, right?
Correct.
317-796-7530. Am I correct?
That is correct.
All right. And the 1-800 number, which is a free call for anybody, is 1-800-420-6936. Repeating, 1-800-420-6936. Listen, Dick, I want to thank you for being here tonight. It's been interesting, and obviously you're kind of a common guy who's devoted his life to UFO paranormal research, and so thank you for being here.
Well, thank you very much.
And you have a good night, my friend.
You do the same.
All right. What we're going to do, folks, is we're going to split here at the top of the hour, and when we come back, we're going to do open lines and perhaps a little more. from the high desert and the great American Southwest, I'm Art Bell, just sort of getting through the night with you. Stay right where you are. Indeed, here I am. Good morning, everybody. Well, all right, we have 2 hours of unscreened open lines directly ahead. Anything you want to talk about is fair game, with the following caveat, and that is that those of you that are interesting, have something of great interest to discuss on the air, will find yourself getting quite a bit of airtime. Those who don't, won't. It's kind of just that simple. Now, beyond that, the only rule is when you get on the air, turn your radio off. In other words, have your hand actually poised on the volume control to turn it all the way down and or preferably actually off when you get on the air. Otherwise, you'll get a sort of about a 30-second delay or something, and it will confuse you mightily, and it'll make you sound confused on the air, something you definitely don't want, I'm sure. So immediately turn your radio off. With that in mind, you've got the numbers, the portals, as it were, and in a moment, it's all yours. And away we go, unscreened, open lines. First-time caller line, you are on the air.
Hi, Art. This is Scott from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet, Scott.
I wanted to tell you about, I'm a skeptic about ghosts. Rather, I was a skeptic about ghosts. I want to share with you a story of in New Jersey where I saw what was either a ghost or a shadow person. I don't know exactly what a shadow person is, but based on what I've heard, it very well could have been. Have you heard of Weird New Jersey?
Oh, yes, I have I get the magazine.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And I was on a business trip in New Jersey, and my coworkers and I on a Saturday night, no idea what to do, picked up a copy of Weird New Jersey and decided to go ghost hunting. And not too much success until we went to a place called Pig Lady Road in Somerville, New Jersey. We tried following it's near the Doris Duke estate. Tried following all these crazy instructions, honk the horn, flash the lights. Nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of the car. We walk down this wooded, muddy road that the car was definitely not going to be able to get down. We walk down this road, standing there, and between us and the car, now I'm not colorblind. The car was dark red. You could clearly see the color of the car. Between us and the car, after a couple of minutes of standing there, we see a silhouette of a person. Cannot believe my eyes. I'm like, and I'm asking myself, am I seeing something? Is this an optical illusion? Am I wanting to see something perhaps? But there is clearly the silhouette of a person. And every time I expected to see a ghost, I expect to see a glowing white type light.
Yeah, the movie Ghost, yeah.
Disembodied, floating over the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, what I saw was a silhouette of a person that was blacker than black, as dark as could be. There was no differentiation between the face, the body, nothing. But it was clearly the silhouette of a person. I asked my coworker next to me, Adam, I'm like, Adam, are you seeing this? Can you believe your eyes? Is that a person? He's like, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the scary thing was, it was between us and the car. We're down this road, and it's between us and the car. And probably stood there for a good 60 seconds, maybe less. It felt like longer, and it started walking into the woods. I have never been so scared in my life. I've never moved so fast either. When it finally went into the woods heading back to that car, I can tell you that. Would that be a shadow person?
I think I'd, if I was going to say ghost or shadow person, I think I'd probably say shadow person. That pretty well qualifies, all right. It's very interesting. New Jersey, as he points out, there's a publication called Weird New Jersey. And New Jersey is not a place that you would think of as particularly a paranormal hotbed, and yet it really is. New Jersey is a place you would think of as, kind of concreted over and, pretty much city upon city upon city, but it's just not so. There are many heavily forested areas of New Jersey, and there's a hell of a lot of weirdness in New Jersey. strange as that may seem, if you doubt it, go subscribe to a publication called Weird New Jersey. I think it's still being printed, and it's just full of stuff that you wouldn't believe about New Jersey. West of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Hi, Art.
Hello.
I just wanted to call in and, I'm nervous. This is the first time I've ever got through to y'all. I just wanted to talk about some of the stuff that's going on in Texas as far as air quality and chemtrails.
Okay. Yeah, I read something about chemtrails earlier in the show. Did you hear that?
I heard part of it, yes.
Uh-huh. Did you hear what was in the chemtrails, according to the newspaper up in Iowa?
Something about boron or something like that.
How about this? In addition to whatever the military had in there, there were 6 bacteria, including anthrax and pneumonia, 9 chemicals, including acetylene chloride, 26 heavy metals, including arsenic, gold, lead, mercury, silver, uranium, and RMC, whatever that is, 4 molds and fungi, 7 viruses, 2 cancers, 2 vaccines, 2 sedatives, and a peach in a pear tree or whatever. Really, whatever this is, it's not good.
I can tell. I heard about it from a friend about 2 years ago, actually, and he told me about it, and he said, watch for it, man. And, at first I thought he was crazy, and after a while I actually started noticing stuff, and now I've got a whole bunch of pictures of this taking place in the sky, and, I notice it. It's distinct patterns. You see them.
There's absolutely no question about it. Here's the deal. I, too, back when we began getting calls about chemtrails here on the program, and I live out here in the desert where generally humidity is very low, skies are very clear as a rule. However, we began to get strange days. You would go out in the morning, and it would begin as a clear day. You would see these planes crisscrossing the sky. They would leave, whether you want to call them contrails or chemtrails, whatever they're constituted from, they would sort of remain. They wouldn't dissipate as you would normally expect a contrail to dissipate. Instead, they would kind of spread. And then by, 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, instead of having a clear and crisp day, you would have a day that's kind of semi-clouded over, sort of almost a haze in the sky. The sunlight would be diminished, the temperature would be down, and it would remain that way until, like a front would come through and you'd get a bunch of wind or something like that. But what began as chemtrails or contrails, depending on what you believe, would end in kind of a misty, strange day. Now, that's gone on quite a bit here in the desert, and I know it's gone on around the rest of the country. I'm not sure how prevalent it has been in some of the rest of the country, but it's certainly going on. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello there. Yes. Turn your radio off, please.
Yes, this is for Art Bell.
Yes, this is Art Bell.
Art, I was wondering a long time ago, I saw a black triangle. I was wondering what you think these things are. I would just like to have your opinion or best guess.
Okay, here it comes. I also saw a large black triangle with Ramona, a story we both told over the years. Now, what is it? I don't know. Is it a government project of some sort, a lighter-than-air craft? Certainly that is one possibility, but that isn't what I would attach to what I saw. It was large. It showed every sign of being metallic. It was deadly silent, so silent you could hear crickets a quarter of a mile away. It floated. It did not fly over our location, as I've said many times. An aircraft takes, it has to fly. It has to be going fast enough to provide lift for whatever lifting surfaces are on the aircraft. So I have no idea what it is. Unless it's a lighter-than-aircraft, experimental aircraft of the U.S. Air Force or whoever, then it's something from elsewhere. How's that? International line, you're on the air. Hello?
Yeah?
Yes, you are. Turn your radio off.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I want to. I got a weird phone call the other day.
Okay, sir, you didn't turn your radio off. I appreciate the call, but we're moving on. Wildcard Line, you're on the air.
Hi, Art. It's Mark, truck driver from Canada.
How you doing?
Good. I called you last week about a blue orb I saw, and I didn't get quite finished speaking, but I was telling you what I saw. And I listened to the show later on that night, and I heard a coincidence of your guest speaking of that same blue orb. I was just wondering how it's just no coincidence. I know you don't believe in that.
Actually, I do.
Oh, you do?
Coincidences? Are there coincidences? Yes, certainly.
Oh, okay.
I think that's George. I think it's George, sir, who says there are no coincidences. Well, there are.
Yeah. Well, it seemed to be that night there was one.
Yes, I recall his referring to a blue orb just after you had called, sometime after you had called.
Right. And the thing was, is I think it finished to say, is I saw heading towards over Lake Erie, heading towards Michigan.
Right.
And the funny thing was, is I had to be in Michigan 2 days after that, and I was in the GM facility anyways, and one of the workers was supposed to be meeting with a reporter who would also have seen that same blue orb early that morning going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife had also seen it too. He had called her out to see it, and the thing was, is it didn't move fast across the sky. It was very slow, but yet it still left that long blue tail of light behind it. It was very, very strange. It was like a baby blue bright orb.
Was it trailing downward toward Earth, or was it making a horizontal movement, or was it actually gaining in altitude? Which way?
Directly across the sky, like perfectly straight across the sky, and not very fast. Like I said, I was climbing a good hill, and I did see it go behind some trees as I started to lose it. Like I could see it as the light went behind and the trees in front of it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's weird enough. It certainly qualifies as a pretty decent report. And I'm telling you, after the experiment we did last week, I had thousands of them. Many of them very much like what you just heard. I'm still kind of trying to digest what actually occurred last weekend, and whether I classify it as an absolutely unambiguous success in terms of an experiment, or whether if you send millions of people out to look at the sky, do you inevitably just get reports? I don't know. I'm sort of mulling that over. Wildcard Line, you're on the air.
Yeah, this is Lee. I'm calling from Alabama.
Yes, William.
Yes. Well, I have a couple stories, actually. I have a ghost story and one that you said last week about, following your instincts.
Yes.
Which one would you rather hear?
The more of the most exciting of the two.
Well, I don't want to say it's exciting, but I was going to EMT school last year, and my wife was going to ride with me to school, and she got this feeling. She just said, I just got this feeling. I got to stay home. I have to stay home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she stayed home, and on my way to school, I got T-boned in the passenger side of my truck.
Oh, brother.
With my truck, and if anybody had been riding in the passenger seat, they would have been killed.
Okay, well, that's certainly a hard little story. I'm glad it turned out well.
Yeah, you want to hear the ghost story, too?
No, I'll pass on that one, and we'll sort of settle it. Listen, folks, if you've got several stories, we'll settle for one. So pick your best and give us your best shot. Wildcard Line, you're on the air.
Art Bell, how you doing?
I'm all right, sir.
Well, my name is Robert. I was recently discharged from Area 51 on a medical discharge.
Now we're cooking. All right.
Okay. Well, I can explain this UFO flat. It's pretty simple, like most of these things are.
Robert, before you get into it, how long had you worked at Area 51?
Well, I worked on a contractual basis for about 11 years.
11 years.
You see, it's not.
Can you tell us, Robert? Can you tell us what kind of work you did?
Sure, I did some service on the heavy equipment over there.
Okay, I take it that you probably left from Las Vegas on a daily basis and went up there, or
what? Yeah, Las Vegas airport. I got flown in when I was working because you see, it's not staffed 100% of the time anymore.
Right.
And I got to excuse me. I'm a little nervous. Well, anyway, this UFO.
Okay, I guess he's gone. You're gone, right? Yep, he's gone. All right. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi, Art. How's it going? This is Miles. I called last week.
Okay, Miles.
I talked to you about remote viewing and about an experience that I had. I tried to remote view you, and it worked out.
Oh, yes, I recall.
Well, I've been, toying around with the idea of getting into it, but I'm kind of like you when it comes to your view of mass consciousness, and I'm not really sure where it comes from. If it's a God-given gift or if it's actually, of Lucifer. And I go back and forth sometimes, and one of the things that made me think that it could be of Lucifer is Donahue's interview.
Donahue.
Yeah, he was trained by...
yes, Ed Dames.
Ed Dames, yes. And a lot of the stuff he was saying was really kind of dark, and it just made me kind of cautious, and I was wondering what you thought about the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. In the last, I don't know, month or so, I have seen so many stories that ring of what Ed Dames has warned of. Now, Aaron Donahue's a different case, and Ed Dames has his own views of Aaron Donahue. But commenting on Ed Dames, with respect to what's going on the sun, and some of what the scientists have been warning about with regard to our sun, some of the disease that Ed Dames has warned about that's beginning to manifest itself, I know it's easy to laugh at and criticize Ed Dames, but I'm beginning to hear echoes in the news and in science that underscore so much of what Ed Dames has said, and I wonder if any of the rest of you are seeing that. First-time caller line, you're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, sir. This is Art?
Yes, it is.
Good morning, Art. I'm calling in regards to your guest this evening. I'm an older senior citizen, and I've never revealed any of this other to my priest. I'm just curious, how authentic do you believe the visitation of an extraterrestrial is? The reason why I'm asking is that I've had, I believe, 3 visits.
Okay.
One visit was right after I graduated from college. My parents sent me to my homeland, Italy. My parents from Italy. I went to go visit relatives there, and while I was touring, as it was, I believe, like I say, I've never revealed this other than to my priest, and he kind of blew it away. But at any rate, these figures, 3 of them, were similar to what your guest this evening described as a
gray
object, 3.5 feet, 4 feet tall. It appeared to be tangent. However, I'm not sure. I know what I felt I saw, but there was no mouth. There was the wraparound eyes. There was the larger than body cranium and so forth. At any rate,
a typical gray, really.
A typical gray, you say, huh? Okay.
That's what I said, yes.
Okay. I don't know. At any rate, this...
All right, sir. Sir, hold on a moment, please. We're at a break point. I'm Art Bell. We'll be right back. Let's try an experiment, all right? There are so many of you now who are claiming contact or abduction. Let's turn this into a show of contact and abduction. So if everybody else would hang up, just hang up. And I know I'll only get a marginal amount of cooperation with that, but I'm going to give it a try. Why? Because it's so interesting. Whether it was my 1 hour guest there, Dick Criswell, or whether it's tomorrow night's guest, Jim Sparks, or whether it's a fellow I've got on the line right now, or thousands more like him, there's absolutely no question about it. A lot of Americans, thousands, maybe tens of thousands and millions, are reporting contact with aliens. So let's turn this into that show. If everybody else who has not had contact with aliens would be so kind as to hang your phone up, clear the lines for those who have actually had contact, let's listen to a few of these stories and see what we get. Just very briefly, before we break, back to this caller. Caller, please continue. You had contact with Grace, you think?
Well, yeah, that's just, and bear in mind, my question to you was, the authenticity. How authentic do you really feel this is?
How authentic do I feel? What is your story?
No.
These people who call and report these things?
No, well, I guess that's part of it. I'm more curious. I question my sanity.
All right. Let me ask you a question, caller. How sure are you of what you experienced?
Well, the first time I didn't know what I've never been on drugs. I don't use alcohol. I didn't know what to think. I thought, well, maybe this is just a hallucination of some sort because of the area I was in, the catacombs in Italy, touring, as I was trying to tell you. But, I didn't pay no attention. And then after 18 years of marriage, I lost my wife to cancer, and right afterward, after being extremely despondent and so forth, I had another visit.
Yeah.
I had pretty much forgotten the first one, except what they told me. So this brought back a lot of fresh memories, and actually it did somewhat ease the despondency and the pain I was going through after losing a person.
Of course.
Living with him 18 years.
So I guess in a way, caller, you've got to ask yourself if it was your brain concocting something in a situation that you couldn't deal with.
I've been asking that so many. I mean, I believe, I feel in my heart that yes, this happened. Of course, like I say, the only other person I've ever told us to was my priest, and he's tried to blow it off in so many different ways, and because I was brainwashed into Catholicism for many years and had my doubts. But anyway, that's another story. It has no bearing. I'm just the reason being is that I'm just,
okay, we're almost losing you here.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm visiting in Dallas, Texas here, so.
Okay, I'll tell you what. We'll hold the story right there. And this is interesting. I mean, the fact that so many people now tomorrow night, if you haven't had an opportunity to hear Jim Sparks, you really need to hear him. Some are able to articulate their experience better than others. Jim Sparks is one of those guys. But it doesn't take anything away from any of you who have seen or had contact with people or beings that you feel are alien. It doesn't take anything away from it at all. It's a fascinating phenomenon. There's no question about it. It's fascinating. So many. It's got to mean something. I've never had contact with an alien. I've never had contact with a ghost. But so many of you have that it has to mean something. We'll be right back. Well, all right. I guess what we're really looking for now tonight are people who have had close encounters of the third kind. That would be the third kind, right? Or is that just very close to a ship? I'm actually looking for people who have had contact. Wildcard Line, you're on the air.
Hey, Odd, how are you?
I'm all right, sir.
Josh in Jacksonville.
Yes, sir.
So listen, I've had two connections with or experiences with what I call, one with just what I call the alien voice in my head that I heard, and the other another second incident, heard the voice which said look up and saw the UFO in the daylight incident. So
really,
I mean, let's just break it down briefly. So 1997, driving in the car, northwest of Baltimore, towards one of the suburbs right there from downtown where I'd work. Daylight, sunny, sun in the sky. And as I'm driving down the road, understand this. This is the day after the night when I posted a website with what became widely known as another anomaly on Mars.
Okay.
And I'm on the way, so I discover it in a flash, post it on the internet in 1997. I was working as a webmaster, early webmaster at the time. On my way the next day, literally, and this is some people who know me know about this story, on my way to close a deal between a major paranormal-related magazine, let's say, and a leading 900 number company to do a UFO 1-900 UFO info line. No one has ever done, doesn't happen. Why that's the case is a whole other story. Bottom line, imagine those two incidents. As I'm driving to work the next day, literally I'm 5 minutes away from work, and I'm thinking to myself, why did that happen? What does this mean? Why have I never seen anything? Literally heard the voice in my head say, look up. So I literally looked up as I'm driving, just literally down one of the main roads there, not a highway, but look up, and there it is, silver disc, suspended right in the sky. Estimated size, literally the classic shape of, say, between a dime and a quarter held at arm's length.
Right.
Sun reflecting off the top left-hand corner of it. Clearly it was metallic. I take my glasses off, stick my head in and out of the car door. It's literally very high trees right there, so till it gets clear, I'm like, maybe it's just nothing. It's literally there. Not a blimp, not an airship, not a helicopter, not a plane. I've been around them all my life, like all of you have. We know when we see them, when we don't, I feel like. Make a long story short, as I'm driving, I've got to get somebody to look at it. I try to get people to look. I don't have a camera with me. Guy to my right at the next stoplight. Can you see it? He kind of sees, he's got to go. I start driving again. Maybe I'll get to this major sort of where the kids hang out, when they cut class, the cemetery right there. Beautiful lake. I'll get there. Well, as I'm driving, I look up, and it goes from in that spot to moving in literally that fast step-like pattern over maybe 5 body lengths. If you can imagine the classic, it would smash the head of any human inside there type situation.
Right.
Literally, then I'm like, what? As I'm staring at it, the hair stands up on the back of my neck. I look forward. I'm about to smash into the back of the vehicle in front of me. I slam on my brakes, stop just short of it, look back up, and the silver disc, again, affixed right there, is in the same spot, but now I'm seeing it literally for about 3 seconds of what I call the phase-out. Not the blast away at high speed, but literally looked like it was twinkling straight out of, if you saw a Star Trek episode and overlaid in reality. I'm like, what? Look ahead again, because I have to slam my brakes again from, having almost hit that car. Look up again, and it's gone. Again, heard the voice, looked up, silver metallic, stuck in place, step-like pattern, phases out. I mean, for a guy who's researched this stuff as long as I have, it was unbelievable. That was the only incident I ever had. I then dropped that deal. Nobody ever did, and straight to this day, I challenge it. Nobody's ever done it. I challenge anyone to do such a thing.
Well, I think people, thank you, would be very suspicious of a 900 line. That's a way to make money, of course. And so I think people would be naturally suspicious of that. In terms of your sighting, though, it was a good one. I had a similar one just walking up my driveway one day, again with Ramona. And as we walked up the driveway, there it was, a silver disc in a contrail, or very near a contrail, of a jet that was probably on its way to San Francisco. And this thing finally shot to the south in the classic takeoff kind of way. And so those are the two I've had, the triangle and then that silver disc. A wild card line, you're on the air. Hello.
Yes, so Art, this is Fred Uphoff from, I'm sorry, Fred.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that out. I just erased that. So your
good.
first name only, please.
Thank you. I wanted to go ahead and talk about 4 abduction sequences that I went through.
You have been abducted?
4 times.
4 times?
Yes.
All right.
I don't remember.
By what?
Okay. The first time, I woke up in the morning, and on my, and I already talked to Lynn Moulton Howe about this,
Oh, you did?
And she says she's had other triangles burnt into, other individual skins. Well, below my right thumb, the last joint towards the wrist had an equilateral triangle burnt. It was like a flash burn.
Okay, do you remember how it occurred?
No, I do not.
But you remember that you were abducted?
Well, I remember seeing all these people around me. Grays, or you might
Sounds
say
like an abduction to me.
Say again?
Sounds like an abduction to me.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's what happened. I had this thing burnt into my. I still got the scar on my hand, and it was an equilateral triangle, 15 millimeters on all sizes, and on all sides, and 10 millimeters below the triangle, there was a scar where it removed, what can I say, skin tissue. Maybe for some DNA test or whatever.
And what did Linda Moulton Howe say about it? Just that she was familiar with other similar cases?
Yeah, she had a guy in South America that had one on his leg.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about this, the weird thing about mine was, is 3 days after I had the thing done on my right hand, it appeared on my left hand.
That is
Flash
weird.
burn.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I very much appreciate the story. That's a kind of physical evidence, I guess. And that is what I'm after here. I'm after people who have had actual encounters. And if you could be here and look, you would see the lines are clearly all lit up. So we're talking about thousands, perhaps millions of Americans who believe they've had something happen to them, believe they've encountered people from elsewhere. Now, that's a non-trivial story. It's a non-trivial fact. It's you can take certainly some of them, and you can discount them. What you should not do is discount people who are not particularly articulate about it. Don't discount them. Sort of lump them in with the rest. People tend to do that because somebody is not particularly articulate and doesn't speak the King's English. They automatically discount the story, where the exact opposite is also true. If somebody is very well-spoken and unwinds their story in a fascinating, interesting way, then you tend to believe them. So don't discard stories because a person is not necessarily very articulate. The fact that we're getting so many of them, the fact that you can say, look, we want to talk to people who have had alien encounters, and you get a full stack of lines just waiting for you. Wildcard line, you're on the air.
Hello, Art.
Hi.
I was standing in my backyard about a year and a half ago, putting up my telescope to look at the moon.
Yes, sir.
And as I was doing so, I saw a multicolored, what I would, the first thing that came to my mind was that it was the shuttle or some satellite going by.
Right.
It was going by very slowly, and it was multicolored. It was, there were rainbow colors, meaning red, blue, green, sparkling. It was slowly going over Lake Michigan, of which I live approximately 3 blocks from, I live in Racine, Wisconsin, 3 blocks from the lake.
A lot of sightings in that area.
Yes. And what was very interesting, that there was this sudden feeling that I should take consciousness of this, forget about the telescope, and I followed it with my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I got this intense feeling to hop in my car, drive the 3 blocks to the lake, and when I got, and where I live, there's a bluff. There's a, you know what I mean? There's a drop-off, a bluff there that goes down to the lake bed down below.
Right.
Now, I had an intense psychic for lack of better words, I'm not an educated man. I'm a union truck driver kind of guy.
That's fine.
I felt that I should follow this thing, and there was something telling me to follow this thing and jump in my car and go and follow this. And when I got to this bluff, it was still there. I would say a mile off of the coastline.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know how everybody says that they see these lights in the sky and they zigzag and they go up and zap out of your vision and all that kind of thing?
Yes.
This thing went down into the water.
Uh-huh.
I saw a huge, what I would call 300-yard, 400-yard radius glow underneath the water.
Wow.
And I felt that there was, I was just intensely drawn to this thing. Now, all I can tell you is that I know what you're asking on the airwaves right now. The abduction, if you were abducted,
or met a creature.
Pardon me.
Or met a creature.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that I went there in a complete conscious state, followed this thing, watched it go down into the water.
No, it's a worthy story.
And when it hit the water, it went under the water, and there was a large glow. And I watched it and kind of lost consciousness. Now, this was not, again, I heard one of your earlier callers say that, they don't do drugs and all this kind of stuff. I wasn't under the influence of anything at the time at all. I watched this in intense curiosity, and I've been listening to your show for quite some time, since before the new guys kind of took it over. Mm-hmm. Which I do have a question, if you would allow me to, at the end. And I will tell you that approximately 3 to 3.5, maybe 4 hours later, I found myself in a haze driving back home, which is only a straight shot. There's a main boulevard, DeKoven Avenue, that goes right down to where I'm talking about, and there's a little bluff there.
You were missing all that time, 3 or 4 hours?
I missed 3 hours, and approximately 3 hours plus, and I got back home, and I felt like I was in a haze when I got back home. I made it safely. Everything was fine. I pulled into the driveway. At the time, my fiancée had gotten back from work. I explained it all to her, of which we're both believers in, well, shall we say, other entities in the universe. Mm-hmm. And I explained it all to her, but there was about a 3.5-hour period of time that I lost.
Got it.
And I sat there and explained it to her, and I might add that I sat there on the bluff in kind of a haze and watched this thing hit the water.
Right.
There was an intense glow underneath the water, and I have to finish by saying this thing shot out and away underneath the water with an intense glow towards Michigan, because I live on the west side of the lake.
All right, listen,
Michigan.
I'm going to have to hold it right there. We're out of time. We're coming up at a break point. But this is exactly the kind of thing I was talking about. Thousands of Americans have experienced something like this man did. That was particularly interesting. Water stories are particularly interesting. We'll be right back. From the high desert, actually. And what we're trying to do now is put together an hour of people who have actually had contact with other beings. I sincerely mean that now. If the rest of you would kindly extinguish your phone, sit back, listen, and enjoy the program, I really would like to talk to those of you who have had actual contact, been abducted, or had contact with beings from elsewhere. Now, that could mean, I suppose, another dimension. It could mean from actual craft. There's no way to really pin all of this down, except to say that thousands, perhaps millions of Americans have had some kind of experience. And as I explained earlier, Some can articulately present it, some not quite as well. But the fact that so many have had this experience means something. It either means they are here, they really are here, or there is some great mass psychological something going on out there. And that's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. We'll be right back. Dale in Missoula, Montana, is fast blasting me the following. Hello, Art. This was just on Fox News. They reported strange lights in the skies over Chicago and over the southeast. They called it UFOs. Dale. Now, if anybody else saw that report and can confirm for me, I would certainly appreciate it. First-time caller line, you're on the air.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Oh, who am I talking to?
I'm Art Bell.
Oh, let me turn my radio off here.
Yes, please.
Okay, yes, let me tell you about my story here. I'm calling from Bakersfield, California, and when I was a little girl, I used to have these dreams, and I had quite a few of them, and they were always exactly the same. And I used to call them the oi, oi, oi dreams because they were these little creatures that would come towards me, and while they came towards me, they started out real small, real far away, and real slow in their voice, and they'd be going, oi, 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 and they'd be getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I'd wake up screaming before they would get to me.
Do you have any reason to believe they were anything other than a dream?
Well, I always thought they were aliens and coming to me in through my dreams, and as I've grown up, I've had other experiences, and not being asleep, things that would really happen to me.
Like what?
Okay, well, one time I had this little guy. He was outside my window, and he was colorful. He was twinkly. He was smiling. I call it a he. I really don't know what it was, but it was some kind of creature. It would not let me get out of my bed. I wanted to get up so I could go get my daughter and show her, but it would not let me do it. For hours, it kept me there just watching it. And it would smile, make all these funny little faces that made me smile and feel really good.
Meaning you were paralyzed.
Yeah, I was paralyzed in my bed just watching it outside the window. It seemed to be outside my bedroom window. And for hours and hours until the early morning.
Well, I'm not sure what you would call that, but some kind of creature from somewhere. West of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hi, turn your radio off, please.
It's off.
Okay, fire away.
Is this Art?
It is.
Oh, hi, Art.
Hi.
I'm calling refer to your guest bringing up the book of Ezekiel in the Bible.
Yes.
Now, that book was written, Ezekiel's story was written long before Christ was ever born. So if there are people that have doubts about spacecraft, pick up your Bible, folks, turn to the book of Ezekiel, and you'll read all about the first spinning wheels that ever came to Earth after the Earth was populated with people, plants, and animals.
Okay, well, there's no question about that. I think most ufologists, most people who have investigated UFOs have been pointed toward the Bible before, but that was not an actual encounter story, and that's what we're after tonight. East of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Hi, I have a story.
Okay.
Basically, I was in my bed, and I woke up, and there was a dog over me, and he wasn't my dog. So I wake up my sister. I tell her, "Wake up! There's a dog." She's like, "What dog? I don't see a dog." He ran out the door. 2 days later, the same dog comes back. I followed this dog down the hallway, and by the time I reached the end of the hallway, it's daylight.
So in other words, a number of hours went away.
Yeah, it was completely dark when I left my room. I followed this dog down the hallway, and it was completely light when I reached the living room.
Wow. See, I don't know what to do with a story like that. That's really weird. Do you have any other recollections at all of what went on during that time?
No. I was like, why am I in the living room? What happened? Where did the dog go? And why is it daylight?
That's weird. You sound young. How old are you?
I'm 21.
21. And how long ago did this happen?
Oh, I was probably about 14.
14. Okay, I appreciate the story. Again, I don't know what to do with it. These stories come in so many different forms. I mean, from a dog to a creature, a sparkly creature, to the traditional grays, to you name it. International line, you're on the air. Hello?
Hi, is this EM 800?
It probably is, yes.
Yeah, I had a story about the Greys I wanted to tell her, so.
Okay, well, you're speaking to me, so go ahead.
Wow, I'm a security guard in Detroit, and I'll tell you, I see some weird stuff all the time late night here. But my story is actually based when I was in San Antonio, Texas, and I was living in a trailer, and I woke up in the middle of the night one night and saw this creature. I wouldn't even call it gray, but it was definitely the description a lot of people want to give. And that day, I had some dental work done, and it was pretty heavily drug-induced that I thought of. But I got up to attack this thing, and it struck me over the head with a can of Campbell's soup that was on the counter. And I woke up the next day on the floor, bump on the back of my head, can of soup gone. And the person I was living with couldn't really explain the whole thing altogether. Ever since
Well, I don't know what to say. Another weird one.
that,
Yeah, I appreciate the call, and I'm getting reports now. Yes, Art, it's true. Fox News did broadcast news of the event, which transpired again over Chicago O'Hare Airport. Now, this surely cannot be the previous incident. If they're reporting this again tonight, apparently there's something else going on over O'Hare. Let's see. Confirming the Fox report, Art. This is DJ. It aired just before 8 p.m. Eastern. It was a story of the recent sightings over. Okay, maybe it was. The reporter covered both sides, ended with the special effects of pretending that he was getting beamed up. Well, of course. Wildcard line, you're on the air.
This is Art.
It is, yes.
Hey, how you doing tonight?
I'm all right, sir. How about yourself?
Doing great. Hey, I want to talk to you about the ambiguity of the source of signals that you're giving in communication with extraterrestrials.
I can barely hear you, sir. You're going to have to yell at me a little bit.
I just want to talk to you about the ambiguity of the signals that you're given when you're communicating with extraterrestrials.
I don't communicate with extraterrestrials, so...
Well, during these circumstances, when you're given, messages or whatnot.
I'm not given, sir, I'm not given messages. I've never communicated with an ET.
Really?
Really?
I'm amazed.
Okay. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I have never had one of these encounters. I've had some strange things occur to me in my life, but I have never communicated with anything that I consider to be from anywhere else, for whatever that's worth. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hello. Would have been. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Good morning.
Yes, how you doing, Art?
Okay.
My name's Jeff. I'm from upstate New York. I just got a weird story to tell you. It's kind of like, it's a ghost story, I guess. I do security work in an office building downtown. I open up the building for a bunch of employees that work there, and I get the place ready. I'm there about 45 minutes to a half hour before the place is actually open. Okay, so I'm in there. I get my logs together. I do my reports. I basically lock myself in for about a half an hour. So it's just me in this big building. I kid you not. I don't know what's going on, but it's like someone's like right behind me at the lobby desk.
I know the feeling. You can almost
feel someone like breathing on me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I could feel that someone is right there.
Right.
And I hear weird noises down in this lobby area. Well, morning, a couple hours goes by. I speak with this one woman that's been there for years. I told her what's been going on. She says to me that, it could be the guy that died 3 floors up. This building is about 10 floors up. And she said, about a year ago, this guy had a heart attack, just died right on the spot, and he died right in his office building, right up on the 3rd floor. He goes, it could be him. And she was laughing, And it's just weird because since I started working here, every morning it's like somebody's there with me.
Well,
I mean, to where I got to turn my head. When I'm doing my log work and I'm doing my reports, I actually have to turn my head and just keep looking like every 2 seconds in back of me because I know someone is in back here watching me.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'd stay in such a job. And I'm not sure that the kind of story you're hearing right now, and then supposed alien contact stories, I'm not sure how different they really are. I guess that's part of what I'm probing here. All of these stories seem to sort of mix together, and that's why ufology and the paranormal world, I think, may be connected. I wrote a book once called The Source that really attempted to kind of put all of this together, and I'm still not so sure that it doesn't all belong together. First-time caller line, you're on the air.
Yes.
Hello?
This is Hawk.
Yes, Hawk.
I am calling about a entity or entities that I encountered and that have been continuing to follow me and members of my family throughout my life.
Okay.
I wondered if you had any knowledge of the history of the Ouija board.
Sure.
Do you know where it actually came from?
No, the history of it, the beginning history of it, it's very old. Ouija boards have been around for a lot longer than I have. So, no, I don't know the actual beginning of the Ouija board.
Well, my grandmother brought one from the hills of Kentucky that was given to her by someone who called herself a witch, and it was old at that time. And this was nothing like the ones they have now. This was handmade, and it was called a Rajan Spirit Calling Board, R-A-J-A-N. And it was not a game like the Ouija board they sell in a game box. This was in a wooden box with symbols on it. And when you opened it, everything was wrapped in black silk.
Wow.
And there was rattles. There was a actual pyramid that you set on the board. It was made out of a dark-colored wood, and it had an actual crystal mounted in an eye position hole on one side of the pyramid. And it was supplied with candles and an old hourglass and these ancient-looking rattles.
Did you give it a try?
Yes, me and some of my cousins gave it a try.
Uh-huh.
And an apparition appeared in the room, and we asked it what its name was, and it told us its name, and it turned out later that what name it told us was Lucifer spelled backwards.
My.
And we were so scared we did what it said to do. It said to blow out the candles and shake the shaman rattle, and that it would scare the spirit away. And then you would look into the crystal, and when it was trapped in the crystal, you couldn't see through the crystal. It was foggy. When it was gone, you could see through it. After we did that, it was gone.
That's really weird.
We continued to have problems after that. I mean, I can't tell you. I couldn't begin to tell you. I mean, not long after that, my very gentle grandfather just became what I can only say was possessed and shot and killed my grandmother.
Oh, my God.
And
well, nothing you're saying about this is a surprise. I had a very, very bad one-time experience with a Ouija board that I don't talk about, and I think they open doors to areas that you don't want to go.
Well, this one at the bottom, I went back because my family still doesn't believe that that's what caused all of our family's trouble, even though half of our family's dead now. And I looked to where it said it was manufactured, and this was just a couple of years ago, and I wrote it down. And then all that's left of it, all the rattles and all the other things are gone, but the board is still there, and it says...
Where was it made?
It says that it was made in the Far East, distributed by Cooper Toys, 666 Lake Shore Drive, Chicago, Illinois.
Okay. Well, all right. I got a little more than I bargained for there, folks. What I've done is I took that out. He gave me a specific name of a company and an address, so I took that out. I will say this, though. I had a truly terrifying experience with the Ouija board. I highly recommend that all of you stay as far away from them as you can. They're nothing by themselves. It comes back to everything that we've been talking about with regard to intent. Consciousness, but most specifically intent. If you try to call up negative spirits, or you use something, it's just a tool. That's all it is. But if you use that tool and project your intent, trying to call something evil, you're very likely going to get it. So be wary. West of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Hi, Art.
Hello there.
How are you?
Yes, turn your radio off. That's number one.
Okay, it's off. Can you tell me anything about just seeing a pair of eyes all the time?
Seeing a pair of eyes?
Yes. I look up and
No.
I see eyes all the time.
You see them where?
In front of me or on the side of me.
You see eyes in front of you or to the side of you?
Right.
Just regular eyes? Brown eyes? Blue eyes?
Sometimes blue eyes, brown eyes. I look up, small eyes, big eyes.
No, I wouldn't know what to say about that. The eyes have it, I guess. I don't know. Eyes. Big eyes, small eyes, brown eyes, blue eyes, little eyes, big eyes. She sees eyes everywhere. From the high desert in the middle of the night, the strangeness of the night. This is Coast to Coast AM. Boy, maybe we really did set it loose. Look at this breaking news from the National Ledger. You can read it on the nationalledger.com. From the Carolinas to Arkansas to the deserts of Arizona, unexplained lights have filled the night skies of late. That means local news stations and the 9/11 switchboards get calls as people try to explain what at times seems like the inexplicable. Since a UFO appeared over Chicago's O'Hare Airport in November, it appears that people are more concentrated on the skies. This time, a report comes from Maine. According to the Morning Sentinel, callers from 4 southern Somerset County towns reported seeing strange lights in the sky Wednesday night. According to the paper, a caller from Shohagan Road in Fairfield reported seeing strange lights in the skies. It just goes on and on and on. It's something's definitely underway, folks. And whether Chicago O'Hare kicked it off or the experiment last night, one way or the other, something's underway. We'll be right back. Right back to it we go. West of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Art.
Hi.
That's Carolyn from Vancouver, BC.
Yes, Carolyn.
Are you still talking about alien abductions and seeing things?
Yes, we are.
So I have this little story. I'm not sure if it is an alien thing or not, but when I was a little girl, I used to always see things in my closet, and I'd always freak out, right? But when I've noticed over the years, I've always been, like, when I'm sleeping, like if I'm sleeping on my tummy, I always feel like someone's pricking me in the back. And then when I was like about 2 weeks ago, the same thing started happening again to me, and this time I felt like someone was like I woke up because I couldn't breathe, and something was like pressing against my back, and it totally freaked me out. And my cats were like freaking out at my door, meowing, trying to get in, and so that's basically my little
Okay,
thing.
well, they know. Cats know. And, again, I'm not at all sure that these things are not all connected. That is to say that UFOs, paranormal activity in general, that it's not all in some way connected. It may all be from the same source. And when you take call after call after call, I'm not really sure that it's easy to delineate between the people who describe alien contact, or at least some of them, and people who describe sleep paralysis combined with seeing something out their window and the rest of it. I'm kind of working on that in my mind, and I hope many of the rest of you are as well. Wildcard Line, you're on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just have a story.
Yeah, fire away. Turn your radio off, though.
Okay. Hi, my name's Annie, and I'm from California.
Hi, Annie.
Are you Art?
Yes.
Hi. I have a story about around 1982. I was reading a book called Star People by Francie and Brad Steiger. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about UFOs and so on at that time. And I sat down to meditate one evening, and I heard a high-pitched tone that wasn't like inner sounds that you sometimes hear in meditation, or it wasn't like an outer sound, but it was something kind of in between that. And so I'd had no hesitation whatsoever. I just knew I was supposed to go with the sound, and I went with it. And I found myself inside a ship, which was a saucer-type ship. And it felt like, to me, it was hovering over the, I couldn't really see outside, but it felt like it was hovering over the vineyard, which was next door to me.
Right.
And what I saw inside was this arced white light panel, which went from the bottom of the, what seemed like the bottom, from the whole length, from the floor to the ceiling of the ship. And it had rays coming out of the white light, which were different colors of the rainbow, soft colors. And I felt like if they were about the size of my hand. And I felt like if I knew what the colors did, I could just put my hand over these colors and the ship would move in some way. But I didn't know what the colors did, and I didn't want to do anything that I didn't know anything about. What?
Yeah, I hear that. Did you see any beings or any sign of life of any kind?
No, I didn't. But what happened later was that I had an occasion to call Marcel Vogel at that time. I had to ask him some questions.
Yes.
I was writing a film script story, and I called him and I asked him the questions that I needed to about my story. Marcel Vogel was a solid-state physicist that worked with IBM, and then he went into crystal work after he retired from IBM. And so when I was talking to him on the phone, I asked him, I told him, I said, I wanted to tell you about an experience I had, and I told him about this experience I had inside the ship. Well, the one part I left out was, unintentionally, was that I only had enough time in the ship to realize that this was a real experience. And then I was like back in my body. And suddenly it just shocked me so much. It was like, and then I was back in my body. So in physical Earth time, it was just that that instantaneous thing, but in whatever other time that is that you go into, I had feeling that it was a different time, and that it for me to know all of those things that I found out inside the ship were it was a different time, longer than a sigh, you might say.
Gotcha.
Well, so I told Marcel.
On balance, you feel this was a valid, real experience. It wasn't.
Well, it was definitely. I believe it was an out-of-body experience.
Okay.
And I think that's as real as physical body. But I guess there's different thoughts on that, different schools of thought. But when I told Marcel Vogel about this experience, I said, have you ever heard of anyone that's had that kind of an experience? He said, oh, yes. He said, that's the mothership. He said, thousands of people see it, thousands of people. Mm-hmm. And I was just amazed to hear a scientist speak that way. And
I'm not. And I appreciate your story. I think that, again, it points to a kind of a confusion between what most of us call the paranormal and what a lot of us call ufology. I really see a great mixture here. I see I don't even know how we delineate between the two, between some sort of paranormal experience, something that may be coming from another adjacent dimension, and something that's real and physical and from another planet. I'm not sure we're capable of knowing the difference. Wildcard line, you're on the air.
Holy
Hello?
Mackerel.
Yes, holy mackerel, you're on the air.
Exterminate by radio.
Thank you.
Paranormal experience.
Down, not up.
It's terminated.
There you go.
Well, anyway, you know what? That experiment we did?
Yes.
That was a bad idea, Art. You know what? I didn't really think anything about it, but I went outside, like you said, like everybody else did, and I stood out there. Nothing happened, so I came back in to listen to radio to see if anybody else got anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I come back in, I sit down, and I remember I need to get something out of my car. We went to a commercial break, so I went to my car. I saw over the freeway a helicopter, I guess, what I thought was a helicopter. So I see it's eventually heading toward me, so I said, okay, I'll rule this out. You can't leave. You see something flying in the air.
Right.
This thing heads toward me. It keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's a big white light. And I'm telling myself, no, what's that? No, what's that? I'm a complete skeptic. Even I've seen something and I'm completely going, no, this can't be.
Right.
And this thing is about 2 blocks from me. It's huge, white. Let me put it to you this way. This thing looked organic. It didn't look like anything like you hear of a craft. It was glowing white, and it had, like, underneath it, legs. It's ridiculous. It looked like tentacles, like a jellyfish, and it was glowing. And this is ridiculous. I go, no. He was like the size of a what do you call it, a softball at arm's length.
Oh, yeah.
And I got scared. I just said, no way. And you know what? You know what I think? We're crying wolf here. That was a bad idea, Art, because, I feel real bad. I got scared. I went inside. I said, what are we doing? We're making these things come here. They're probably there in case some sort of natural disaster or something. We need help from these individuals. But I looked on the Internet because this is ridiculous. UFO like a jellyfish. I typed in UFO and jellyfish, and guess what? They exist. UFOs,
I know. I know. Listen, it's like we set something loose. It's going crazy out there. So,
yeah.
I don't know if it was a good idea or a bad idea. I don't, based on what we've seen so far, it's not a bad idea in the sense that I haven't heard of any negative encounters as a result of it. I've just heard of lots of things in our sky suddenly being seen. Lots and lots of things suddenly being seen. Now, it could be the result of just asking people to look in the sky. I cannot dismiss that. Or it could be that we really generated something that's still ongoing. First-time caller line, you're on the air.
Art Bell, this is
yes, sir.
Chris from Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Hi, Chris.
And hi, and I want to talk to you about an experience I had contact with aliens when I was younger. I've just recollected this memory. I think it was as a result of a near-death experience that when we were kids, I guess I was like 12 or 13, we were making ourselves pass out.
I remember doing that when I was a kid.
I guess like you're holding, you hold your breath, and then somebody comes up behind you and grabs you.
That's right.
I did that, and when that happened, I guess I went to some other dimension. But when I woke up, or when I was in another dimension, I was on my back, and it felt like I was maybe on like a lunar landscape on the moon, and I was surrounded by like aliens, gray aliens.
Mm-hmm. You see, what you have just said is absolutely classic. How do you differentiate the paranormal as produced by, I wonder how many of you remember that when you were kids, huh? You hold your breath, somebody grabs you. I won't describe how it's done because it's not safe. And generally you pass out. And then he has an experience that approximates aliens. All right. How do we separate the paranormal from the aliens, from craft, from things that people see? It surely seems to all mix together to me. On the international line, you're on the air.
Hello, is this Art?
It is.
It is. Hey, I've been watching, you've stole my thunder, but Fox Network has been showing, that the cable side has been showing some footage of the UFOs you're talking about. So I just wanted to inform people that they've got some actual footage out here on the TV.
I know. I'm hearing about it all over now.
Okay. Well, I know we're short on time, so but it's great to talk to you. Okay.
Good to talk to you, sir. Thank you. And I don't know what we've set loose, but again, I guess it's a success from the point of view that what we're getting are sightings of things in the sky. We're not getting abduction reports, other than the ones that come from some time ago. But we are getting massive numbers of sightings in the sky. And, well, that's kind of what we asked for. East of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Art.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm so happy to get through. I knew I was going to get through. I was laying in bed, sleeping, and my grandson got up to go to the bathroom. And my husband turned on the radio, and I just got up and called you.
Okay.
Got through. Okay, this is a story about my grandson. When he was 2 years old, he was sleeping with his brother, and every night one of them would get out of bed and go sleep with the mother.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the older brother woke up, and he couldn't find his brother, and I'm sorry, I'm nervous. He went in to talk to Mom and find out where brother was.
Mm-hmm.
And the mother said, no, he's not here. Go back and look for him. So he went back, and he couldn't find his brother. So he came back. He came back again, and couldn't find his brother. And he went back again, and he just decided to sleep on the couch. And the next morning, my daughter said, I told you your brother was in bed. And the 2-year-old said, no, me not. Me on spaceship. So when he came the next day, I said, what happened last night? And he said, I went on a spaceship. And he's like going zoom, zoom. And I said, what happened? And he said, they took me to see another Kenny that looks
I'm
just
sorry,
like me.
another what?
Well, he said his name. They took
Okay.
me to see another Kenny that looks just like me.
Oh.
Yeah. And my stomach just dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked him, I said, were they good to you? And he said, yeah. And I said, what did they look like? And he said, Grandma, big eyes. And I asked him if they talked to him. And he said they didn't have mouths, but they talked to him.
This was a 2-year-old.
2-year-old. Now, I wrote Whitley about this, and he got back to me like the same day.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful letter. And I talked to him a little bit about it, but I didn't dwell on it. And we didn't talk much about it after that. But the synchronicity is that when I was writing Whitley or emailing him, my older grandson that found him missing was talking to his mother about it. When I got the response back from Whitley, I called my daughter and told her that I had emailed Whitley and gave her the response. And she said, Mom, just yesterday, the older grandson asked her if she remembered the incident. And then I think probably 4 years after it happened, we were standing outside a restaurant. And out of the clear blue sky, we were just standing there waiting for my daughter to come out. And out of the clear blue sky, he said, Grandma, what I don't know is, how did they get me out of my bed the night they took me? And I just about fell over. I couldn't believe he was asking that. It was, it's kind of sad in a way, because I love him so much to think that, maybe something is happening. And then the next incident was, I think, was it Mars that was close to Earth, or Venus?
It was Mars.
Oh, it was Mars. Okay, we were outside looking for it with the telescope, and I couldn't see it. We didn't have a very good telescope. And I came and I said, come on, let's go look it up on the Internet. And I brought it up on the Internet, and as soon as he saw it, he got real excited, and he says, Grandma, that's where they took me that night. And I said, I just talked to him, and I said, what do you mean? He said, I saw that. And what he implied, without really saying the words, that's where the mothership sits, right near that. Now, he might have been talking about Venus, but it was Mars that I had on the Internet. And he was so excited. He said, that's where they took me that night. And he said he got off one vehicle into another, and it was real big. And he implies different breeds, like insects type and reptilian type, but that
Boy,
was
that's
really,
an awful lot for a 2-year-old to remember.
Right.
It really
exactly.
is. That's an amazing story, though.
But what really got me the most was when he said they took him and showed him another Kenny that looks just like him.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't believe it, because, I hear these shows about hybrids, and I thought, oh my gosh, is it true?
Is there any history in your family that would point to what he said? In other words, was anybody else abducted? You know what? We're running out of time. But is there any family history?
If they are, I don't know about it. But I got to tell you one more thing real quick. He is psychic. He can take a camera and take photographs of orbs.
Okay, on that note, I've got to go, ma'am. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. We're flat out of time. Thank you all for the stories. And if this doesn't get you thinking, along with what's going in our skies right now, I don't know what will. At any rate, we'll be back tomorrow evening. Jim Sparks will be back. He's really quite something. That'll be a program you don't want to miss. From the high desert, I'm Art Bell. Night all.